So we will start with principle of stationary total potential energy, or PSTPE. So this theory is basically, it considers the stationary potential energy, and let's see how it works. So now when we look at this work, which is integral from point A to point B, fx du plus fy dv plus fz dw. So if you integrate this, you will get the potential energy. If you partially differentiate these equations with respect to u, v and w, you will get del daba v over daba w, which will be equals to fx, and daba v over daba simple v, which will be equal to minus fy, and also daba v divided by daba w, which will be equal to minus fz. So if you partially differentiate the above first equation, you will get these three terms. If the body is in equilibrium, there is no net force, and therefore fx will be equal to fy, which will be equal to fz, which will be equal to 0, because the body is in equilibrium. So it follows that daba v divided by daba w will be equal to 0, daba v divided by daba simple v, which will be equal to 0, and daba v divided by daba w, which will be equal to 0. So all the net force components will be equal to 0. So how do we explain this phenomena? So let's say, for example, if a body is in equilibrium, the potential energy has a stationary value. So the potential energy, or PE, will have a constant value or a stationary value. Of all the geometrical possible positions that a system can take up, the one that corresponds to the actual equilibrium configuration is the one for which the total potential energy takes a stationary value. So you can understand by looking at this, if we say all of the geometrical possible positions that a system can take up, one that corresponds to the actual equilibrium configuration is the one for which has the total potential energy takes a stationary value. So basically you will be looking at one which have the actual equilibrium configuration, is which the total potential energy takes a stationary value. So this explains about PSTPE. Now example, we will consider a single degree of freedom system, which is a spring which is fixed at the wall, and it has a stiffness coefficient of K, and you apply a force P, and there is a displacement of U. The strain energy, which will be equal to U, which will be equal to half Ku squared. The potential energy of loading will be Pu, because that is the work done by the force applied horizontally. So the potential energy of loading will be equal to omega, which will be equal to Pu. You have the strain energy and the potential energy. So if you consider the total potential energy, which will be equal to the addition of strain energy as well as the potential energy of loading, which will result in half Ku squared minus Pu. Now if you apply the PSTP, or principle of stationary potential energy, we consider the daba V divided by daba W, which will be equal to, when we partially differentiate half Ku squared, you will get Ku, and partial differentiate with respect to U, minus Pu becomes minus P. So Ku minus P will become to 0. if you apply the PSTP. So therefore you can get P, which will be equal to KU. Now let's consider a 2 degree of freedom. This has a 2 degree of freedom. For example, this has two springs which has a stiffness coefficient of K1 as well as K2, and the displacements are at midpoint it will be U1, and at the end it will be U2, and the P force is applied. Now if you consider the strain energy at the point where U2 is applied, that is the end of the force where the force P is applied, if you consider that point, the strain energy of that point P, which will be equal to K1 U half K1 U1 squared minus half K2 U2 minus U1. Since if you look at the displacement at P, the strain energy will be equal to half times the stiffness coefficient plus the displacement at U1 and half K2. If you look at the K2, the displacement is basically U2 minus U1. So you can write it as half K2 into U2 minus U1 in squared. So that is basically how to get the strain energy. Now if you look at the potential energy of loading omega, which will be equal to minus PU2, that is the force and the displacement. Strain energy is U as well as potential energy is omega. Now when we consider the total potential energy V, which will be equals to U plus omega, which will add these two strain energy as well as potential energy of loading. So these components will add up and will result an equation that is shown at the bottom of the slide So when we apply a discrete problem, that is the earlier problem, you can get the total potential energy as half Ku squared plus half K2 U2 minus U1 squared minus PU2. Now if you apply the PSTP, you have two displacements, so you have to partially differentiate this summative equation with respect to U1 as well as with respect to U2. So when you partially differentiate these two components, da by V divided by da by U1, which will be equals to K1 U1 minus K2 U2 plus K2 U1, which will be equal to 0, because when you apply the PSTP, you have to consider the partially differentiate with respect to the displacement, which will equate into 0. So you will get another equation you have to write in terms of U2. So we have to partially differentiate that above equation with respect to U2. So when we integrate the same equation, when we partially differentiate the same equation, you will get K2 into U2 minus U1 minus P. If you apply the PSTP, this will become 0. So you will get two, in the right hand side you will get two equations, K1 plus K2 U1 minus K2 U2, which will be equal to 0, and minus K2 U1 plus K2 U2 is equals to P. If you write it in the matrix form, you can see after taking U1 and U2 aside, there will be a 2 by 2 matrix, and U2 aside, and which will be equal to 0 P. So you can write this summative matrix, that is K1 plus K2 minus K2 minus K2 and K2, that is a 2 by 2 matrix. This will become the equivalent spring coefficient K, and U1 U2 will be the displacement, and you can write it as U, and therefore you can write the equation as the general form equation Ku, which will be equal to P. As you can see previously, by applying PSTPE, you can get a solution for discrete problems. The solutions are in the form of Ku, which will be equal to P. You can still apply PSTPE for continuous problem, but the method becomes approximate as the displacement in the system becomes assumed displacement functions. So basically you can apply for a continuous problem, but it becomes approximate as the displacement in the system becomes assumed displacement function. So basically when you apply the PSTP in a continuous problem, you have to take it as assumed displacement functions. These assumed displacement functions are mostly polynomial or trigonometric series with the coefficients of terms are replacing the discrete DOFs which are used previously. So in the earlier we used discrete degree of freedoms, that is DOF. So in the earlier we used those discrete degree of freedoms, but you can write in polynomial or trigonometric series as same as which is used to define the discrete DOFs. So this method was first introduced by Rayleigh and it was perfected by Ritz. So we consider this approach as Rayleigh-Ritz approach. Rayleigh only used one unknown coefficient. Ritz extended this method by use of infinite series in order to obtain any required degree of accuracy. The requirement for assumed displacement function is that they must satisfy any geometric boundary conditions that exist. So basically we have, even if you give any geometrical boundary conditions, we can apply these assumed displacement functions. Otherwise the reactions will do work and must therefore be incorporated into the problem definition. It is desirable for the other conditions such as the curvature to be satisfied in order to improve the accuracy of the method. So we will consider the application of Rayleigh and Ritz method using uniform bind tension. So there are two sides. One is the application of Rayleigh equation, and also you can apply it as a Rayleigh-Ritz method. So if you look at this, it's a cantilever beam which has a modulus of elasticity E, cross section area A, and the length is L. You apply a P force and there will be a displacement U. So strain energy, now if you look at the strain energy, this equals to half, because now you have to write the modulus of elasticity as now you have to look at the what is the strain energy, which is half integral from 0 to L epsilon sigma. That is you have to break down this since because it is sigma equals E epsilon. So you can write sigma into d volume. So the strain energy is basically half into sigma sigma epsilon d volume, and U becomes half L to 0 E epsilon squared d volume. So basically you can write sigma in terms of E and epsilon, and you can substitute this to that previous equation, so it will give you epsilon E and another epsilon. So you will get epsilon squared E d volume integral from 0 to L. So assume a displacement pattern such as that a distance x from the fixed end, the displacement is given by u into x divided by L. Strain is given by the derivative of the displacement with respect to x. Therefore epsilon will be equal to u divided by L. So basically if you divide the displacement with respect to x, you will get the strain. You get strain epsilon will be equal to the original length divided by the extension. So u x divided by L divided by x will give you a strain energy of strain of epsilon, which should be equal to u divided by L. Hence u, which will be equal to E divided by 2 integral from 0 to L u squared divided by L squared into a dx. A dx being the d volume part, and you can take out, now if you look at the previous equation, it is half E epsilon squared d volume. So you can substitute it d volume as d a dx, because a is constant and the x is varying. So you can take, now if you look at the equation, which is half E epsilon. So E and epsilon can be substituted. E and epsilon can be substituted using the above epsilon equation. So epsilon, which will be equal to u divided by L. Hence capital U, which will be equal to 2 E divided by 2 integral from 0 to L u squared divided by L squared a dx, which will give you u equals E a divided by 2 u squared L squared L, and after simplifying both of these terms you will get u equals E a u squared divided by 2L. The potential energy of loading will be omega, which will be equal to minus pu. So the total energy, which will be equal to u plus omega, which will be equal to E a u squared divided by 2L minus pu. Now when you apply the PSTPE, the displacement is u. So we have to take the total potential energy with respect to u. So you partially differentiate the equation V with respect to u, which will give you E a divided by L u minus p. Now if you apply the PSTPE, this result will be equal to 0. Therefore E a divided by L into u, which will be equal to p. Or now you can write it as Ku equals P, where K is equals to E a divided by L. So now we will talk about application of Rayleigh and Rayleigh-Ritz method, a simple cantilever with a point load at its free end. Earlier we considered the force applying a P force applying horizontally, but now we will consider a point load W which will be applied onto the cantilever beam. The Rayleigh method, the basic approach will be now we will look at the properties of the beam, which has a Young's modulus of E, which has a moment of inertia I and also has a length of L. So now if you look at the basic approach, that is the Rayleigh approach, in the first instance let us choose to satisfy geometric boundary conditions only. So we will consider those satisfying geometric boundary conditions. There are two boundary conditions and the Rayleigh method requires one unknown displacement coefficient. So but there are two boundary conditions, but the Rayleigh method requires one unknown displacement. Therefore we use a three-term polynomial for the assumed displacement shape of the form y equals a plus bx plus cx squared. So there are two boundary conditions and the Rayleigh method has one. So 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. So you have to write a term polynomial with the three terms. So y should be equal to the three terms a, bx as well as cx squared. So you get the equation y which will be equal to a plus bx plus cx squared. Now if you apply the boundary conditions to this beam, cantilever beam, you will notice that the displacement y which will be 0 when at x equals 0, because the beam is fixed at the end. So there will be no displacement in the y direction at the end of at the fixed end. So you can write it as y equals 0 at x equals 0. Therefore now you can write after substituting this y equals 0 and also x equals 0, you will get a will be equal to 0. If you now if you write the next boundary condition, which will be dy over dx is 0, that is the displacement with respect to x will be 0 at x equals 0. So basically the slope is equals to 0 at x equals 0. Therefore you can get y which will be equal to a plus bx plus cx squared. So you will get, after substituting a equals 0 and dy by dx, which will give you b which will be equal to 0. So you can write y which will be equals to cx squared. So if you apply a and b, this term will cancel out and the displacement function y which will be equal to cx squared. So if you recall the strain energy due to bending earlier, the work done as the strain energy is half m theta, or u equals m theta divided by 2. So from the earlier notes, that is energy methods, we did this strain energy. You can write dx which will be equal to approximately equal to ds, which will give you r theta. So theta you can write it as 1 over r dx, and you can write 1 over r which will be equal to m divided by ei. So if you substitute this strain energy u is equals to m theta divided by 2. So you substitute this theta here, and we can write in terms of u which will be equal to m theta divided by 2, but 1 over r is equals to m divided by ei. So you have m into m divided by ei dx. So m squared divided by 2 ei dx, the strain energy in the basic approach. However, moment which will be equals to ei d squared y by dx. So this will be, you will get the differential equation of bending. So you can substitute to u, which will be now in the previous equation, u will be equal to m squared divided by ei 2ei dx. So you can write u which will be equal to ei divided by 2 integral 0 to L d squared y by dx squared dx. So if you take y which is equal to cx, and if you differentiate it twice, you will get 2c. So d squared y by dx squared is equals to 2c, which yields u will be equal to ei divided by 2 integral 0 to L 2c squared dx, u which will be equal to 2 ei L c squared. So the potential energy of loading omega is minus WCL squared. So because if you look at the energy, it is potential energy which will be equal to WL squared. Total potential energy P, which will be equal to U plus omega, to give you this equation. If you apply PSTPE, that is WO double C equals 0. So we have to apply this PSTPE. So it will give you, if you integrate with V with respect to C, we will get 4EILC minus WL squared. Now if you apply the PSTP, this results, this equation will become 0. So you can find the C constant, which will be equal to WL divided by 4EI. Hence, if you write Y equals Cx squared, which will be equal to Y equals WL divided by 4EI x squared. So the maximum deflection will occur at x equals L. Therefore, Y, which will be equal to omega L cube divided by 4EI. But if you look at the previous note, you will find for a cantilever beam, Y max will be equal to WL cube divided by 3EI. There's a small error because you get the from the total potential, the PSTP, you get WL cube divided by 4EI, and the Newtonian approach you will get WL cube divided by 3EI. So there's a 33% error. So we will consider some more examples in the later lecture.